We're ready.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience while we work through the technical issues. This meeting of the Certification Advisory Committee is being called to order on August 3rd at 9:42 a.m. Can we call the roll, please?
Yes. Member Tabo. Member Farah. Member Dumler.
Present.
Member Hendrickson. Member Janash Panel. Member Tyree.
Here.
Member Lighting.
Here.
Member Garcia. Member Garcia. Member Weber. Member Horn.
Present.
Member Corporich.
Present.
Member Spear.
Present.
Chair Peasley is here.
And Chair Peasley. Sorry, I was getting that too. Sorry. Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. All right, as we've been doing with our virtual meetings, we're going to turn this meeting over to our Associate Executive Director, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we have first up on the agenda, the Executive Director's report. As Deputy Director, I just have one thing to report, which is that the literacy endorsement that you all recommended at the last meeting is tentatively scheduled to be on the August State Board of Education meeting, tentatively because that agenda comes out next week. So the agenda has not been finalized, but it is scheduled to be on, and we will keep you up to date on how that goes and let you know if the board wants to send that back to committee for any further discussion if that happens to occur. So far we're on track for that. So next up we have the call to the public. And we did receive one request to speak from Emily Robinson. And you can see Jessica here's pulling up the timer for you. And I think, Emily, you were let in, if I recall. So Emily, you do have 3 minutes. Jessica's got a timer here for you, and she'll start it once you start speaking. And you can address the committee. Just note that as part of our call to the public, the committee members don't respond to the request to speak directly, but can direct staff if they choose. So Emily, you should have received a request to unmute, and you can begin your public comments.
I'm interested in STEM education for K through 12 students. K through 12 Arizona students need a strong foundation in STEM subjects in order to succeed in the workforce. This leads to Arizona is in need of middle school and high school teachers who are competent in math, science, and technology. I would like to see an easy application process for STEM professionals to be able to become middle school and high school math, science, and technology teachers. The current process in order to become a fully certified teacher is an undue burden for STEM professionals who have the knowledge and workplace experience to really bridge the gap between what is needed for the future and what currently exists today in education in Arizona for K through 12 STEM education. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emily. And that is the call to the public, the only call to the public and request to speak that we received. And so we can move on to agenda item number 3, which is the only agenda item in front of us today. And is, I think at the last meeting I had teased that there might be some additional cleanup rules coming. ADE did provide this one for the committee's consideration. one of maybe more that are coming, but this was kind of the low-hanging fruit that we were able to put together in time for this meeting. And I can hand it off to Bruce and Mara to explain in a little more detail if they'd like, from what's in the executive summary and what's in the rule itself, which is pretty straightforward in terms of updating the renewal requirements and adding essentially a pathway for school psychologists to renew their cert if they have that national credential. But Bruce, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add for the committee's consideration.
Yeah, just to highlight that this is similar rule that we considered last couple of years when we added the speech language pathologist national credential and even national board certified teaching credential. And it just helps with the ease of renewal, that they don't have to, folks don't have to come with certificates. They can just present the one credential, we verify it, and that meets the renewal requirements. The school psychologist, National Association of School Psychologists, has a much higher threshold for professional development every 3 years than we do. So this kind of goes above and beyond, and it's just allowing those people to use that credential. And the last thing I'd say, if Maura doesn't flag me down, is that on the books is a little over 1,600 school psychologist certificates. So that's kind of the impact for those folks.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, members, are there any, a pretty straightforward one, all things considered, from what we usually saw? And Jessica, if you could just pull up the rule real quick, just so members can have a peek at it here and scroll down until we see that blue language. So that's what we've got here. So members, and you can see subsection D is the requirement for 15 hours of continuing ed each year over the certificate term. And remember, those 15 hours don't have to be 15 hours every year necessarily. Those can be accumulated at any point in the term of the cert. So they can accumulate 30 hours 1 year and 0 hours for 5 years, and then the remainder at the 6th year and 7th year, and so on and so forth. And then you can see adding to this list, to instead of doing those 15 continuing ed hours, they could be nationally board certified or some of these other pathways, which are essentially higher than the 15 credit hours per year average, and adding the national school psychologist credential. So pretty straightforward, members. Any questions, comments, or concerns that I can deflect to Bruce and ADE?
The school psychologists are most gratified that this, sorry, I'm in a school. They are most gratified that this is coming to the committee, and very hopeful that it will be passed on to the State Board of Education for action. It's an important change. It's an important recognition of the work that they have to do to maintain their national certificate.
And I'm looking around. I don't see any other hands, virtual or otherwise. So if I could be so bold, it could be an appropriate time for a motion to recommend R7-2-619 as presented here to the board.
So moved. This is Patty.
Okay, we have a motion from Dr. Horn, a second from member Tyree. Is there any discussion on that motion? And I don't see any. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Okay, I don't see any opposed. So that motion passes unanimously. So that will be on the August 27th board meeting agenda, along with the literacy endorsement, separate agenda items. And as I mentioned on the other items, as always, we'll circle back to you, let you know how those are items are moving through the process at the legislature, or at the legislature, I'm sorry, at the board. We're out of session here, but I guess I can't shift out of gears. So on to agenda item number 4, future meeting dates and items for future action. I did want to let the committee know, and this might be a throwback, especially a few years ago, the committee had worked on an appropriately certified document and rules and some changes to the definition section and the general provision section, essentially trying to provide some clarity to which certificate or approved area educators needed depending on the subject that they taught. The rule as it currently stands, and before the committee had recommended some rule changes, tied it to the board's rule on minimum course of study, and that created some confusion. And really the two shouldn't be linking up like that. So the committee recommended some rules to modify that. That was a few years ago. The rule had sort of stalled out at the board, but after we had some internal discussions with ADE, we're going to try to put that and get that rolling at the board again at the August 27th meeting. Frankly, either for the board to push it through and get it finished up in the rulemaking process, or for them to ask for CAC to take another look at it, or for the board to terminate the rulemaking and just stop it altogether. But we've had this rule open for a while and want to try to get something done with it. The next meeting of the committee is scheduled for September 7th, which is the day after Labor Day. So if that's an issue for anybody, please let me know. You don't have to do it now, but you can shoot me an email. It is possible we'll have some things for the committee to consider at that meeting. So please let me know. And we'll go from there if you can't make it. And I think that just about does it for me. Chair Peasley, I don't know if you had anything else you want to add before we wrap up. I did promise it would be a quick one today. Hopefully we can deliver.
Yes, you did promise it was going to be a quick one, and it is. And I thank the committee members for recognizing the importance of this and the ease of it getting through our committee. But now, this sounds good to me. I don't have any other items. And I do just hope that Emily is as passionate as she is about STEM. She's able to get some support for that and the rule writing, and perhaps we'll get to see her again. Thank you very much. Is there anything else from anybody else? Then we can adjourn this meeting of the Certification Advisory Committee.